What's up? It's Susie from Hey Grill Hey, and today I am giving you a recipe for incredibly simple grilled pork chops. We're cooking them up on this awesome vintage Weber kettle, and I'm giving you my recipe for my award-winning sweet rub so you can make these exactly like I do in your own backyard. Let's do it. Step one for prepping these beautiful pork chops is making your rub. Now, these pork chops are made amazing with my signature sweet rub, and I posted the recipe for these long before I ever started selling sweet rub in the bottle. It's actually one of the reasons I started selling in the first place was I had readers cooking this recipe all the time saying, you know, I'm making your sweet rub weekly for our pork chop night. If you could just bottle it, that would be amazing. So I do have bottled sweet rub that I'm gonna be using on my pork chops, but I also have the recipe for the sweet rub so you can make it at home. I'll give you the ingredients really quickly. It comes together in under a minute. I start by mixing a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a tablespoon of coarse kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of cracked black pepper, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I just mix it all up with a fork, break up any brown sugar clumps, and the sweet rub is ready to go. Now I'm using bone-in rib chops, but this also works with center cut loin chops. Whatever pork chops are your favorite, this recipe totally works for all of them. Now it's time to cook the pork chops. I want to preheat a grill. I'm using a charcoal grill with 2-zone heat. The overall temperature of my grill that I'm looking for is around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Obviously, the high temperature side is gonna be a little bit higher. The low temperature side is gonna be a little bit lower than 400, but if my dome is reading 400 degrees on that thermometer, then I know I'm in the right spot. Next up is seasoning the pork chops. I'm gonna sprinkle that sweet rub on both sides of each chop and then use my hands to really press the seasoning into the meat. It's not so much a rub as it is a press. It really allows all of those granules to stick to the meat itself. I'm gonna kick off my sear by putting the pork chops over the high heat side of the grill with all of those preheated coals. I'm gonna give them 2 to 3 minutes per side with the lid open. I want a lot of airflow, a lot of heat to really kick off the cooking process and caramelize the sweet rub on the exterior. After the sear, I'm gonna move my chops over to the indirect heat side of the grill and close the lid. I like to leave them on there for about 5 minutes before I give them a flip, close the lid, and then I start checking at the 2 to 3 minute mark for doneness. I want my chops to read between 140 and 145 degrees Fahrenheit before I pull them off of the grill and onto my platter for serving. I like to let my pork chops rest for about 5 to 6 minutes before they're ready to serve. Now, either homemade or store-bought, the sweet rub is a winner on these grilled pork chops. You can see all the variation in color from those dark caramelized charred pieces to that bright mahogany color from the paprika in there. These are some gorgeous looking pork chops, and because we used the thermometer, we know we didn't overcook them. Oh, they cut like butter. Now, a well-cooked pork chop to 145 means it's gonna be a little bit pink in the middle, but it's gonna stay nice and juicy. That is like the ultimate flavor and texture explosion. It's crispy and crusty on the outside and just melts away in your mouth on the inside. It's savory and salty enough, but the caramelized sugars provide just enough sweetness. And then on the back end, you get that little bit of heat from the cayenne pepper. This is a glorious, delicious, staple pork chop that you can come back to over and over and over again. Help you become a backyard barbecue hero to your own family and friends, because honestly, that's what it's all about. You can grab this recipe on heygrillhey.com or on the Hey Grill Hey app. See you next time. Oh, good pork chop.